Welcome to our PHP web course. In this class, we will learn about using numeric values in variables. We have previously talked about string variables, which contain character data enclosed in single or double quotes, and numeric variables, which essentially are numbers. String and numeric variables are called scalar because they contain a single value. There are two types of numeric variables. The first type is the integer. In PHP, a whole number or integer value is between these two values. Anything greater or lower than this will be stored as a float or a decimal. An integer or whole number must have at least one digit, may not have a decimal point, it can be either positive or negative, and you can use other formats such as hexadecimal. And here we see some examples of valid numeric integer variable types. The var_dump function is very valuable when working with numbers. Rather than just using echo or print, if you pass the variable to this function, not only will it return the value, but it will also tell you the numeric data type, as we see here. In PHP, we also have the numeric variable type called a float. A float or floating point number is a decimal or a fraction. A float will either have a decimal point or a number in exponential form. If an expression was stored in a variable that contained a float, even if it evaluated to a whole number, it would still be considered a float. The float data type can store a very high number, as we see here. And here are some examples of numeric float variable types. Again, using the var_dump function will show you not only the value, but the numeric data type. In PHP, as in most programming languages, there are 6 arithmetic operators. Are common addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and exponentiation, the ability to raise to a power. Notice the operator symbols that are used. We also have what are called assignment operators. The most commonly used assignment operator is the equal sign. And what that is saying is that the left operand gets the value of the right. So what is on the right is stored in what is on the left. We also have other assignment operators, such as plus equal, which enables us to add the operand on the left to the operand on the right. It is essentially a shortcut, as you can see here. We also have that ability for the other operators: subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus. We also have the increment and decrement operators, which will increase the value of the variable by 1 or decrease the value of the variable by 1 using the plus plus or the minus minus. There is an order of precedence with which we use these operators. Calculations are commonly performed left to right. However, certain operations will be performed before others. Multiplication has the highest order of precedence, then comes division, modulus, addition, and subtraction. So here we see an example, $x equals 7 plus 3 times 2. If you were to perform the operations from left to right, the value would be 20, which would technically be incorrect. The multiplication takes highest precedence, so we would first multiply 3 times 2, which is 6. Then we would add the 7, so 13 is actually the answer. It is always best to use parentheses in order to make sure that you are performing the calculations in the manner in which you intend to. In PHP, we would be storing our numeric values in variables, as we see here. We would be using those variables in the calculation, and we would be using the variable in our output statement also. HTML forms are commonly used to send data to a PHP script for processing. Here I have 2 checkboxes, and I have assigned a value to each. If we were to retrieve those values using our $_post variable, we would store the value in a variable. Again, we would use those variables in the calculation and use that variable in our output statement. It is important that your forms have some kind of validation so that your data entered is correct, especially when you are performing mathematical calculations. It is preferable to use radio boxes, checkboxes, or drop-down lists rather than have the user type in a number, if possible. Here is an example of an error message. What I have done in my checkbox, rather than coding in a numeric value, I have coded in a string value of XXX. You see that I do get a warning. However, PHP does complete the calculation. The calculation is incorrect. This will also happen with multiplication and division. You will get a result, however, the result will be wrong, so it's always important to check your values. PHP gives us several functions for formatting numbers. One function is the round function, and this is used to round down or up a floating point or decimal number. It will round down or up depending on which number it's closer to. So here's an example where we're rounding 4.967. Notice we will specify how many decimal places we want to round to, and in this case it will be 2. Because 7 is a higher number, 967 will round up to 97. If we look at the next number, 7.962, because the 2 is a lower number, it will round to 0.96. Two other useful functions are ceil and floor. Ceil will round the number up to the closest integer. Floor will round the number down to the nearest integer. And here we have an example using the same number. Ceil rounded our decimal to a 5. Floor rounded it to a 4. The number_format function will automatically insert commas in the thousand groups if applicable. You never hard code a comma in a number. That comma will be added by a formatting function. The number_format function allows us to specify a number of decimal points. This is very useful when you want to display money. Money usually has a .00 at the end. It is more professional to see something like $10 written with a .00 at the end. So the number_format function would be used for that. The number_format function can also be used with decimal values, which are float data types, and we can specify the number of decimal points we want. Again, depending on the number, it will round up or round down, depending on which it is closer to. We have the ability to generate a random integer, and this is accomplished using the mt_rand function, and it typically generates a relatively large number. We can specify an inclusive range by passing the lower limit and the higher limit to this function, as we see here.